Ajnana Timirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksurunalitam Yena Asmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamhayam Adi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishubhanu Sudha Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kapa Drubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patiranam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, text number 3. Is it written anywhere or we just read the verse? Arurukshara munir yogam karya karyam uchite yogarudasya tasyaiva samakarnam uchite. Aruruksho, who has just begun yoga. Mune, of the sage. Yogam, the eightfold yoga system. Karma, work. Karnam, the means. Uchite is said to be. Yoga, eightfold yoga. Arudasya, one who has attained. Tasya, his. Eva, certainly. Samaha, cessation of all material activities. Karnam, the means. Uchite is said to be. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who has attained to yoga, already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. So please repeat. For one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated to yoga, in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Purport. The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. It may be compared to a ladder for obtaining the topmost spiritual realization. This yoga begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity and rises up to the perfect self-realization and pure spiritual life. According to various elevations, different parts of the ladder are known by different names. But all in all, the complete ladder is called yoga. It may be divided into three parts, namely Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti-yoga. The beginning of the ladder is called Yoga Rurukshu stage, and the highest rung is called Yoga Ruda. Concerning the Eightfold Yoga system, attempts in the beginning to enter into meditation through regular principles of life and practice of different sitting postures, which are more or less bodily exercises, are considered free of material activities. All such activities lead to achieving perfect mental equilibrium to control the senses. When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all disturbing mental activities. Krishna conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna. And being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna is considered to have ceased all material activities. Aruruksharamanir-yogam karyam uchite yogarudasya tasyaiva samakaranam uchite. For one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pracharane Shesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Satarne. In the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna is explaining one of the indirect processes to becoming conscious of Krishna. The indirect process, as Prabhupada writes in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, is necessary sometimes for those who don't have the opportunity to practice directly Krishna consciousness. On the other hand, it's often seen, according to our literature, that those who practice the indirect process, they sometimes don't make it to the direct process. We have what's called bridge preaching. You've heard of bridge preaching before? So sometimes we build a bridge to connect with people. Unfortunately, those who build the bridge sometimes wind up on the other side of the bridge. And so that's sometimes bridge preaching doesn't work the way we think it should work. In any case, in order to come to the spiritual platform, Krishna has given different opportunities through karma yoga, jnana yoga, astanga yoga, and he's also given the direct path called bhakti-yoga. In the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna in the 18th chapter, he goes through a whole elaborate sequence, beginning with renunciation and the modes of nature, and then he goes into buddhya, vishuddhya, yukto, chitatmana, niyamya cha, shabda din vishayan tyaktva, raga dvesha vidasya cha, vivikta desha lagavasi, yatavad kaya manasa, dhyana yoga paro nityam, vairagya samupashritya, ahankarabalam darpam, kamakroda parigraham, vimucha nirma shanto, brahma bhuya kalpate. So, for those who don't understand Sanskrit, we'll give a little translation. So, buddhya means intelligence. So, bhakti yoga is considered to be buddhi yoga, or the yoga of real spiritual intelligence. Real spiritual intelligence only has two divisions. That is understanding the self and understanding the Supreme Self. So that's called buddhi. If we understand who we are and who Krishna is, and what our relation with Krishna is, that's called buddhi yoga. Now, buddhya, vishuddhya, yukto. Yukto, of course, is always used when we're talking about being connected with Krishna. And vishuddhya, that's factually the only way of becoming purified is by connecting ourselves with Krishna. Now we may wash our hands and consider that to be pure, or we may do other things in the name of purity, but ultimately real purity means we have to purify our consciousness. So Buddha, and the only way of purifying our consciousness ultimately is connect with Krishna through our intelligence. Now we've heard from the Bhagavad-Gita that the process of material existence is the process of disconnecting our intelligence from Krishna. And the way to do that is simply, it happens practically automatically. We don't have to make any effort, practically speaking. Material nature will make all the effort for us. All we do is have to wander around without any aim in life, except to become happy ourselves at any cost. And then what will happen is, dhyato vishayam pumsam. Maya will point out some object which is just suitable for the present senses we have. Everyone has a particular set of senses, and just waiting for us is a particular set of sense objects. In Kali Yuga, it's very hard to exactly pinpoint what sense objects go with what particular body, because nowadays practically every sense object goes with every body. In any case, when we don't have any purpose in life other than to gratify our senses, Maya will come in, will introduce us to a particular set of sense objects which will attract our attention. And then she'll inspire us by what's called lust. Or in the material world, they call that love. We fall in love with something. Nowadays, you fall in love with a cat or a dog or an automobile or a woman or a man or a dead animal. Anything's possible. And then from that lust comes greed. If we gratify our senses, then we feel impelled to enjoy this object even more or again. And then comes anger, because ultimately there's only a limit to how many sense objects we can enjoy, either due to lack of money or the fact that our senses become dulled by such enjoyment, and therefore we become frustrated or angry. And from the anger and the lust and the greed comes delusion. Maya will paint a picture, put us into a dreamlike state where we imagine that we're actually participating in some drama where we're the hero or the heroine in that drama. And then, if there was anything that was causing us any hesitation, any remembrance of any real knowledge, any experience we had in the past, it's ended because our memory is taken away. We can't remember that yesterday I tried to enjoy the same sense object and I got kicked in the face, but today I'm going to enjoy, and hopefully because we can't remember, we don't realize we're going to get kicked in the face again. So that means we forget. And because we're in delusion, we're floating around in a dream of material existence, and we have no memory of what actually is real and what's not real. Therefore, our intelligence goes out the window, and all we're doing is using whatever intelligence we have in order to try to figure out a plan to gratify our senses. And therefore, our material existence is in full force, without any hesitation, or at least in the course of time, if there was any hesitation, then that's eliminated, and we become more spontaneous in our sense gratification, thinking that now we're on the spontaneous platform of gratifying our senses. We become liberated from any restraints. We're following the hog acharya. A hog acharya will eat anything, he'll sleep anywhere at any time, he'll have sex with anything and anyone, and And in the best it can, it's trying to defend itself and its family as the only purpose of life. But buddhya vishuddhya yukto, if one is in contact with Krishna, as much as we dedicate our body and our mind and our words in His service, in that contact, it's just like as much as we're in the fire, then to that extent, the iron becomes like fire. So as much as we're in contact with Krishna through our body, utilizing our body, mind, and words in Krishna's service, then we become purified. And in order to utilize our body, mind, and words in Krishna's service, then it requires buddhi, intelligence. And that buddhi intelligence comes from hearing. So in the beginning, in any path, it's the path of hearing, but we have to hear according to our qualification. And the beginning qualification means yama, niyama in this Ashtanga yoga system. We should stop being animals and try to be civilized, according to the Vedic conception of what a civilized person is. Vidya Vinaya Sampane. That human form of life, Prabhupada once said, begins with Brahman life, the mode of goodness. So that means two things that summarize the learned and gentle Brahman. So gentle and learned. Learned means matrivat paradareshu paradvareshu lastravat. To see every woman except for one's wife to be like one's mother, to see everyone's property to be just like except for one's own, to be like garbage in the street, and to see all living entities as spiritual beings, part of the same spiritual family. So that's called learned. And one should not normally become gentle, that I'm not the center of the universe, and I should act on behalf of Krishna to inspire others to take up loving devotional service to Krishna. So, buddhya vishuddhya jitatmana niyamya cha. And therefore one should utilize one's senses in the service of Krishna in order to come to the platform of connecting our intelligence in Krishna's service. So that's the beginning. Yama, niyama, trying to become civilized, clean, truthful, Ishvara Padana, recognize that there is a God and it's not us, non-stealing, asteya, etc. Then one can sit down peacefully and we don't have to check our watch every 5 minutes, see if I got a phone call or check our internet, if we got any messages, you're there. Wait a second. One can sit down peacefully, realizing that actually I'm doing the right thing, sitting here trying to fix my mind on Krishna, turn off the iPhone for a while. And one is not, one tries to practice some sitting postures, but not with the aim that I'm a great yogi, put my foot behind my neck and now see my prowess. No, the idea is that, so you can sit down peacefully and perform pranayama. So pranayama is specifically directly meant to control the mind. Instead of focusing on a million things, it's just try to regulate the breath so that the mind becomes peaceful. Then one can try and think about Krishna. So, just like in bhakti-yoga, we have chatur vidam bhajante mam janasukriti arjuna artha jignasya artharati gyani chabharatar shiva. There are 4 kinds of pious people approach Krishna. So at the beginning, one is full of distress, because material existence means distress. And material existence is distressful because of Krishna says, Avritam gyana etena, gyane no nityavarina, kama rupena kunteya, dusprena analena cha. Thus a man's pure consciousness is covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. And before he said that, we're all, at least we're in a human delusion. What to speak if we were an animal or a plant delusion? Dumena vriyate hanira, itar darsho malenacha, ito bainabritar garbas, ita tenedam abritam. Just like the fire is covered by smoke, or the mirror is covered by dust, or the embryo is covered by the womb, so similarly the living entity is covered by different degrees of lust. So the lust puts us into a certain delusion. But being in the human form of delusion, commonly the human form, we have some opportunity to hear. And therefore, although we may not see things properly, but at least we get some idea theoretically what is proper. And the first thing we're supposed to do is realize that we're asleep. In other words, if we think we're perfectly situated and everything's all right, everyone else is asleep and I'm awake, we're in a very bad position, a very unfortunate position. So Krishna begins Bhagavad-Gita by saying we're not this body. So if we can understand that we're not this body, this body is always changing, but I'm not changing, then we can see that we're all tied for number one fool. We're all in first place. Everyone is thinking they're an avatar. They've incarnated here to do some important work. But actually we are avatars. We're the Mudha avatars. The fool avatars. We've come here to do all foolish things. So if we realize that, then there's some possibility of waking up to what reality is, but we have to understand that reality is not, we just don't snap our fingers and we're in reality. We have to hear from the authorized persons what is reality and the process of realizing it. And then it's not that everything goes away, lust, as soon as I understand something, lust, anger, greed, delusion, madness, everything else just flies out the window. I put on a dhoti or a sari, a little tilak, and Maya just like flies. So we hear theoretically, and then we know we're bewildered by the illusory energy. We're being influenced by lust, anger, and greed. And then we try to do our duty, try to chant Hare Krishna, try to do the process. In the neophyte stage, we may do it because we're suffering, but we're told that this is the means to get out of suffering. Akama sabakama va moksha kama udarati. Whatever our reason, we start on that platform. And we actually get out of suffering, and then we want to enjoy. Everyone wants to enjoy. No one came to the material world to suffer. It's just that previously, in our attempts to enjoy, we wind up suffering. We thought that by increasing my lust, my anger, my greed, then I'll actually enjoy. So then we become purified, and hopefully we get enough intelligence that we find out that's not the process of enjoying in the material world. And therefore we find out we can enjoy, quote, enjoy in the material world through the mode of something connected with goodness, like the Vaishyas, or there it says those who are looking after material happiness. So they know enjoyment means nice prasadam. Every devotee knows that. That may be the only thing we know. And we know that clean air, fresh water, nice relationships, this is actually what makes life enjoyable. But that's all on the material platform. Now, when one tries to get out, free from something higher than simply the material platform that we're presently on, within our present ability, then we become jignasu. Is there something better, a better existence? So that's generally the job of the Kshatriyas, or in the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna is giving the managers the job of those inquisitive, But inquisitive to who? Because everyone's inquisitive. According to Pariksha Maharaj, the bird is asking, beep, 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 beep. That's the Hindi bird version of where's the worm? And the other worm goes, beep, 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 beep. The worm is over there. So even the birds are inquisitive. And the human version is, where is the money? Money, money, sweeter than honey. So everyone is inquisitive, but Jignasu Shreya Uttama, what is a step higher than simply my present inquisitiveness about eating, sleeping, mating, defending? So therefore the managers or the Kshatriyas, they inquire. If you want to become a manager in the present world, then you have to go to school and get your MBA, or go on the internet and read dozens and dozens of books of how to manage. So managers inquire from real Kshatriyas, or real inquisitiveness is inquire from the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas, how to elevate ourselves to a higher level. So that's the beginning, inquisitiveness. Krishna, he praises that in the Bhagavad-Gita, that this is the first step to just get off the material platform, to realize we don't know everything, and to try to inquire from those who actually know about spiritual knowledge, about what their duty is. Of course the Vaishyas and the Shudras are also doing their duties, but the Kshatriyas make sure they're inquisitive, they learn from the Brahmins, they have the capacity for knowledge to see that people, what everyone's duty is, and see that they're performing it. Like the temple president. It's supposed to be, he should know what the duty of being in the temple are, and seeing that the devotees are following it. But higher than that is one who's actually come to the platform of liberation from the material concept of life. Brahman jana titi brahmanaha. So here it says, the beginning is arurukshor. They're more or less trying to get off the material platform by acting in the human form of life, controlling the mind through asana and pranayama. And then when they come to the platform, pratyahara, withdrawing from the material disturbances, then they were actually off the material platform. Or we say, Brahma bhuta prasanatma nashoshiti nakankshati samak sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim lavate puram. When we give up this hankering, which means we can externally practice Krishna consciousness, chant our rounds, come to the programs, but unless we give up this hankering lamentation, then the result is that we're doing everything, well, not everything, but to a certain extent it's external. We're a Paka Brahmachari outside, and we're the most romantic Romeo inside. I'm a brahmachari. Trying to make me fall down. I dare you. I challenge you. Just like Rajneesh. You've heard of Rajneesh? How many have heard of Rajneesh? What's that? He was in Pune, yes. Anyone go and visit him? Usha, I think his name was Usha. Osha. So Rajneesh was a Paka Brahmachari. He was actually a famous Brahmachari in Mumbai. And then he became so proud of being such a great Brahmachari, he put an advertisement in the All India newspaper that he challenged anyone in India to cause him to fall down. So a very famous prostitute took up the challenge, came to Bombay, and spent the night with Rajneesh. And the next day Rajneesh wrote an article, Liberation Through Sex. So this is one becomes proud, because one could become a Brahmin, or one could become an asuram bhavamashritya. One could become a demon also, with all that knowledge, thinking oneself to become God, and then because pride cometh before the fall. So in any case, after one gives up hankering, lamentation, and Krishna will help the devotee, because material nature is so made that sooner or later we're sure to be exposed, either privately or publicly, the fact that we're not 100% pure devotees. And therefore we'll be forced to give up our hankering and our lamentation if we're sincere, or else we just, when we're exposed, then we just go somewhere else to cheat. In any case, Maya is there to help us, to put us into difficulty, so that we take shelter of Krishna and we give up all other shelters. Then one can actually begin dhyana, dharana, or dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. One can actually fix the mind upon Krishna without any ulterior motive. So that's what we're trying to do. Of course, our position is vishaya vinivartante niraharasi dehinam rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishva nivartate. If we actually think of Krishna through the process of devotion, then the result is Krishna reveals himself to us, and when Krishna reveals himself to us through devotion, then we can experience Krishna's sweetness and his devotee's sweetness, and then we fall in love with Krishna gradually. So our process is giving up material existence by not simply giving it up, trying to become detached from it, but to recognize it all belongs to Krishna and all meant for Krishna's service. Yukta vairagya. Whatever assets we think we have, then we utilize them in Krishna's service, and as Krishna reveals himself to us, then we realize it's not mine, it's Krishna's, and I'm just his instrument. So the beginning is simply to hear constantly how everything belongs to Krishna, and everything should be utilized in Krishna's service, and therefore we should find out from Krishna and his representatives how he wants us to utilize his energies, whether it's be my body, my possessions, my mind, my words, my relationships, how to become expert in utilizing everything in Krishna's service. And the more we practice, the more we become aware of Krishna, then gradually we take up the attitude that maybe I should do it just to please Krishna. Maybe I should do it to become conscious of Krishna. Maybe that should be my goal, my purpose of life, is to actually think about Krishna. However, it may seem very simple, but obviously the material nature has captivated living entities since time immemorial, and they're doing everything else except for thinking about Krishna. They'll go through any struggle, austerity, renunciation, just as long as they don't have to think about Krishna. Just as long as they can imagine, they can serve their false ego, that ultimately they are Krishna. They're either the controller, or the enjoyer, or the savior. As long as they can think like that, they'll do anything for that. But to actually want to think about Krishna with the idea that Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the controller, and Krishna is the real friend of everyone, if we think like that and do what Krishna wants us to do, then the result is that we naturally think about Krishna. And thinking about Krishna, when Krishna reveals himself in that way, we experience his sweetness, the ecstasy of associating with him and his devotees. And our heart becomes purified in that association, and we see things clearer, and we become more attached to Krishna. And bhakti pareshanu vyaktira anyata trika eka kala. Then everything is seen clearer in relation to Krishna. We become detached from the things that draw our mind away from Krishna, and we become more and more interested in becoming conscious of Krishna, because we have more and more love for Krishna. So this indirect process through yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, ultimately brings us to the point of thinking about Krishna. But then after thinking about Krishna, then we have to do something for Krishna. So that's the very beginning, manmana. So we're also doing that, but we're doing it, as Krishna will say, the end of this chapter, the beginning of the 7th chapter, maya sakta manatparata. So we're doing the same thing. We're going through the whole process of from yama to samadhi. And what is that process? That we're hearing about Krishna. But we just don't want to hear about Krishna. We want to do something for Krishna. And we don't just want to do something for Krishna, we want to do something for Krishna with devotion. So we're starting from that. Manmana bhava madbhakto. Manmana, we're hearing about Krishna, we're becoming inspired to become Krishna's devotee. Madbhakta. And by that hearing and becoming Krishna's devotee, yaji, then in association with other devotees and big groups and small groups, we're trying to worship Krishna through service. And namaskuru. And as we realize how wonderful Krishna and his devotees are, then we become more and more surrendered, more and more humble. And then the result is we want to give everything to Krishna. And what is that giving everything to Krishna? It means that ultimately we learn who to spread Krishna consciousness to. Because Krishna's mission, when it becomes our mission, then we want to give others Krishna also. So whether Krishna says, Yaidama paramanguyam, madbhakteshva abhidashati, the most dear devotee of me, the one who's actually surrendered and humble, completely absorbed in me, he'll go out and tell others about Krishna too. Or as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Yari Deka Tarika Krishna Upadesh. Whoever we meet, our business is to try to help them become conscious of Krishna. And Prabhupada to do the same thing. He spread Krishna consciousness around the world and told us to do the same thing. So the yoga process will get us up to the platform of thinking about Krishna, and then we have to do something to serve him. So we're starting hearing about Krishna and hearing what we should do to serve him. So those in the beginning we're trying to come to hear about Krishna, and then eventually we should tell people what they can do to serve Krishna. Chant japa, offer their food to Krishna, and then when they become more serious, then we try to engage them in chanting a prescribed number of rounds, doing some sadhana for Krishna, rising early in the morning, chanting with their family. When they become more serious, rendering service to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission and the loving exchanges, and then when they become more serious, to go out and preach and tell others about Krishna. So we're starting for where Ashtanga Yoga left off, but we shouldn't minimize the process of Ashtanga Yoga either, because Ashtanga Yoga, obviously whoever is performing it, did so after many lifetimes of pious activity. They realized that they should try to fix their mind upon Krishna. So sometimes the neophyte devotee, they're not very clear what their actual purpose is. They're trying to get free from distress. And sometimes the neophyte devotee just wants a very nice, comfortable position. And sometimes they're inquisitive how to better control the universe. And sometimes they just want freedom and liberation, knowledge. They want to become just like Krishna. So, Brahmabhuta prasanatma nashoshiti nakangshati. So we're trying to get rid of these misconceptions ourselves, but we're doing it through the process of pure devotional service. So we should understand what is the process, how to hear about Krishna, how to chant about Krishna, how to remember Krishna, how to become Krishna's devotee, how to worship Krishna, how to become surrendered to Krishna, how to preach about Krishna. So we should take up the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as given to us by Srila Prabhupada and understand all the different aspects, what we're doing, how to do it. And therefore be able to see everything from the different levels of progress, see what level we're on, and what the next step is for others, and then try to take full advantage of what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us through his acharyas and disciple succession. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes.
No, dharana and jhana and samadhi, is that more or less the same thing? But
Yeah. Well, we have our what's called smarna dasa, 5 levels of progressive Krishna smarna, which also we use the same Sanskrit words dharana, dhyana, anusmriti, and samadhi. So at the beginning we're trying to think about Krishna, remember him interruptedly. That's called smarna. But we go through the stages of Shravana Dasa and Varna Dasa. And they're explained differently by the acharyas in different ways. But Prabhupada explained it. Shravana Dasa means we're just trying to hear about Krishna, try to live life according to what we're hearing, and then gradually acceptance will be there, that we're actually Krishna's eternal servants. And then naturally we'll remember Krishna spontaneously, interruptedly. And that's called smarna. And then when it becomes more without interruption, it's called contemplation of dharana. And then it comes to the platform where it's uninterrupted and expanding, and that's called dhyana. And when it's constantly uninterrupted and constantly always expanding, it's called dhyana anusmriti. And when one is completely absorbed in thinking about Krishna at the stage of asakti, that's called samadhi. And from there, then one's sampati das, one's original relation with Krishna is revealed, one's swarup, and one begins worshipping Krishna from the platform of bhava, and follows in the footsteps of one of the eternal associates to come to the platform of prema bhakti, sampati das, dasa. So we're following the process, but our process is a little easier than sitting in Loy Bazaar trying to practice yoga. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, in the Bhagavatam class, there was one Prabhuji said that to make advancement in our spiritual life, we know we need mercy of devotees and pure devotees to make progress. So he said we should not just depend on our sadhana. It's more kripa, siddhi that works.
It's more what?
More kripa.
Kripa. Really?
Works more than our sadhana. So we have to do our sadhana. But you said it's more kripa.
Kripa, so we can just snick, ram, ram, dan, de, kripa, ram, ram, de. No, obviously it's, unless we have the attitude that we're dependent on Krishna and his devotees, then it's very difficult to make progress if we think we're other than an infinitesimal servant of Krishna. So we have to rely upon Krishna's mercy. But we'll get Krishna's mercy if we do our sadhana nicely. If we try to do everything nicely. That's the best way of getting Krishna's mercy. I mean, if you read Bhagavad-Gita, when does Krishna say he gives his mercy? Some people say, kripa, 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 kripa. 16 rounds of kripa. No, Krishna's mercy is gotten in the following. One time, one of my friends on Radha Damodar, I was on Radha Damodar, if you ever heard that. One of the bus leaders there that I was traveling with for some time, he asked Prabhupada the question that the Christians say that Krishna is speaking to them. So then Prabhupada asked them, how do you know if Krishna is speaking to him? How do you know if that's true? And Prabhupada got very much on this devotee's case, you can say, because he didn't know the answer. And then Prabhupada gave the answer. So how do we get Kripa? It begins, Machita Machkata Prana Bodhi Antash Parash Param Katayantas from Nityam Tu Shanti Cha Ravanti Cha. If you want to get Kripa, come to the Bhagavad-Gita class. Or the Srimad Bhagavatam class. That's the beginning of Kripa. Hear from the devotees. Hear from them, what are we hearing about? Tesham Sadatam Yuktanam Bhajantam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi-yogam Tam Yena Mam Upyantite. To those who are constantly devoted to worshiping me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So that's the beginning of Kripa. Learn how to become constantly engaged with devotion to serving Krishna. And then if we're constantly devoted and we accept the intelligence that Krishna is giving us and we apply that within our lives, then we get Kripa. Tesham eva nukam partam aham agyana jam tamaha nasham yam yatma bhavasto gyana dipena bhashvata. If we understand things properly and therefore engage constantly in Krishna's loving service with, and what is we hearing about? Buddhya vishuddhya yukto. Oh, actually, that's all right. Tad buddhyas, tad atmanas, tad nishtas, tad parayanaha, gajantya puna abritim, jnana nirduta kalmashaha. When one's faith, mind, refuge, intelligence are all fixed in the Supreme, the one becomes fully cleansed of all misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So we're hearing how to engage our body, our mind, our words, our intelligence, our faith, our refuge, all in Krishna and his devotees. And when we do that, then Krishna, within our heart, he destroys with the lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance, out of his compassion. So there's a process of getting Kripa. It's not just asking for it, it's doing something for it. Yes?
You told in the class about that, like in the beginning we hear about Krishna.
Yes.
And then we want to do something. We say, now should do something for Krishna. So, is that like doing something, can we say it is like Kirtan, like Shravan and Kirtan and Vishnu?
No, it's the same thing.
Like, this is
Kirtan means to do something for Krishna, to glorify him with our body, mind, and words. It's not just words, it's also doing something.
because if somebody is doing any service for
That's also glorifying Krishna. It may not be done with full knowledge, but it's also a kind of kirtan. After all, this body is just a transformation. The whole material universe is just sound vibration, transformed in different ways. So it says actions speak louder than words. So we're doing something for Krishna. And of course, our mind should also be doing it for Krishna, not just our body. Then we'll get the full benefit. So we're not only hearing about how to utilize our body, but also our mind and intelligence and our very selves in Krishna's service. That's full kirtan. That's Sankirtan. All right, thank you very much. Grantaraj Bhagavad-Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.